Mr. Young Nudy is a trap artist, a trapper, a trap rapper, whatever you want to say, who has been putting out some really good music in this style, in this genre, for plenty of years now. And it took me quite a while to realise that, because last year he gave us Anyways, and this ended up being my favourite album of his so far. Which isn't necessarily the most popular opinion amongst his fans. I think generally some of his earlier stuff is considered the best stuff. But I don't know, man, I enjoy that stuff too. It's all really good, but there was something about Anyways that just really clicked with me. I just think it was really fun, high energy from start to finish. And I think it took away some of the darkness from his older stuff, which is probably why I think, you know, the hardcore fan base may have liked the earlier stuff a little bit more. But I just enjoyed his flows on that thing, man. I think he was just flowing for days. He just always sounded really quirky and odd. He has a really bizarre vocal tone that I think gives him a great amount of character, which shows on this new album here as well. It hasn't gone away on Dr. Evil at all in the slightest, but of course, you can probably guess from the title and the album cover this time, he is going back to that kind of gloomier and dreaded awfulness in terms of the lyrics that we've seen from him before. The opening track, Revenge, sets this thing up perfectly. You can't really ask for any other kind of opening track than this, because why would you? It literally sets the whole tone of the album up. It really just gives you exactly what you're gonna get for most of the other songs. It's just the right way to set up an album. It's very cold and just chilling at points with some of the lyrics, but obviously it works for what the album is setting out to achieve. It's at this point though that, you know, we get some mini-me and you're realizing that there's not really going to be any deep lyrics here. A lot of talking about being high. The only thing he felt was nutting on her face. That's all he could really feel. Ooh, that shit was so great, may I add. But the, you know, overall track isn't here to give you anything new lyrically. In fact, it's going to give you a few laughs though, because that track that track has got some lines that do make me laugh. And the catching underlying melody I think is great as well. I think there is something in the way he just flows over these instrumentals, and the instrumental has this really great, like, it's not a flute, but it's like this flute-like melody that I think is just really ear-grabbing. Honestly, really good stuff here. Yellow Tape, typical gangbanging shit. It's at this point on the album where I think you're not gonna get anything new lyrically from Nudy, and I think, you know, as long as you enjoy the flows and enjoy the beats and enjoy the way he sounds on these tracks, I don't think you're going to mind too much. It didn't bother me all that much, really, up until the album kind of started to peter off a little bit towards the end, but I'll get to that in a bit. But just in case you were looking for like a deep lyrical time, don't switch this one on, because you ain't gonna get that. Perc 30 is one of my favorites, honestly, as well, because of the weird vocals on the hook. He just has this nasally delivery, which I find really funny. The bloody like ad-libs are so whiny and bizarre on this track, and yet they just make me laugh. The way he's just kind of throwing his voice, he's like, just think Playboy Carti if he just went a little like more eccentric than he usually does. But I think this could possibly annoy people more than they enjoy it, but I just think he sounds funny on this one. I've got enough comments to make them come whack your mama, or whatever that line was. Look, Nudy just has a way with words, and shit like this just cracks me up. The Rustlers though is definitely one of the best tracks for that. I've got money, so she's stand on my dick is basically the line that he says, which again, yeah, maybe it's my sense of humor, but I just find it funny. Like, what the hell does that even mean? She stands on his dick? You're gonna stand on his dick? And he doesn't even care because he's got money, but she's gonna do it because he's got money? Oh mate, this shit's just too funny. Or it's so big that she has to stand. This man writes these lines. He just writes them, man. Nudy is just too funny. The 21 Savage feature suits him really well as well. I mean, I was saying on the last J. Cole album that I wasn't really too keen on the way 21 sounded on that track, but I think here, I think he sounds in his element, and of course the relationship with Nudy. I don't even have to explain that one. If you're a fan of Nudy, you know what it is. They kind of just fit each other really well, and honestly at this point, Nudy deserves the status and the fame and the recognizability that 21 Savage has got. I mean, imagine a parallel universe where all the hits that 21 got were actually Nudy's hits instead. Not to say that every song that 21's dropped is bad. I like him, he's decent, but Nudy has just always been so much better. I really enjoy Soulkeeper. I think his delivery is really great on this one. His delivery usually is really good anyway, but I think this track, it stands out really nicely. But I think once we get past this point, I do start to get a little tired of the album, more just because of the lyrics, not necessarily that they're bad or they're awful, because they're pretty similar throughout the album. But I just think it hits a point where the angle that Nudy is coming from just gets quite repetitive, and there isn't anything new added to the mix. Scott Evil just isn't that strong musically, so it just ends up fading in the background for me a little bit. And when you read into the lyrics, he is literally just giving us what we've got throughout most of the album already, so it is just a track that I could do without. And while Walking Dead should be good in theory, I just think the hook just gets a bit mundane. I don't see it at all. I don't see it at all. And then I kind of was expecting just a bit more meat to the lyrics considering the topic, but there isn't really anything there. And I don't know, I'm not going to advocate for a lot of the lyrics on this album anyway, but this track just kind of made me feel a bit uncomfortable. It was a bit weird listening to him talk about, you know, all the bodies he's seen and stuff. It's difficult because sometimes, you know, musicians just write from a fictional place and they just write lyrics that are obviously, you know, just telling a story and telling maybe what you've just seen. But I don't know, I thought maybe there'd be a bit more of an emotional arc to this track that just wasn't really there. And you're probably going to be like, what the hell are you talking about? Especially if you're a Nudy fan. But think back to his like earliest days. He hasn't really changed up the lyrics throughout his career a lot, has he? So, I don't know. I think this track just didn't do what a track like Deeper Than Rap did. I think Deeper Than Rap explored this theme in a really interesting way that I think tackled the emotional side of things that this track just doesn't, for me, personally, for me. Other than that though, it's still fun. It's still fun listen. The album overall is still fun listen, and I think Nudy is just delivering what he's really good at. So if you like what he's good at before, you couldn't really hear this album and think, well, you know, this is worse, because he is giving us what he's good at. So for me, it's a 7 out of 10. I think it is a good album. Hoping to see something a bit newer, I think, in the future from Nudy, but I don't know if we're exactly going to get that. And if he keeps delivering albums of this quality, I probably won't really mind anyway in the long run, but it would be good to see if he delivers something slightly new in the future. Think of like, you know, Conway, what he did with his most recent album. Oh no, it wasn't his most recent album. No, he dropped one since then. I'm thinking From a King to a God. Just slightly differentiated his sound and style just enough to keep it fresh and keep it engaging, and the music was great anyway. So I'd like to see Nudy do something like that. But still, good music here from Nudy. Hopefully you like it as well. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Hopefully you give it a listen. Let me know what you think. Have a good day. Subscribe if you have not already. And goodbye. Goodbye.